Okay, I've been doing a little bit more filing and so on these two side plates. I've actually made them a little shallower in their depth because I'd left too much metal from where I'd drawn around the paper template, and basically I've had to grind and file down the marks around the edge to get it a little bit smaller. If I plonk that on the side like that now, you'll see it's a little bit lower. So if I was to lift that up a little bit, you see it's moved up. I've also taken a little bit too much metal off around the top of the hole because I cut that first, and then I've taken metal off, so when I push that up, so you can see I can soon sort that out. I can weld a little bit more metal back in there with a welder and then grind it back and file it, and it probably won't look so bad. Now if I flip this over like so, I've been doing some measurements and so on, and looking at the gearbox. Now this gearbox, I've stripped all the extra junk that was on it off, and if I take a measurement across its width, the minimum I can get it to is 35mm wide. So by the time I add the two pieces of 3mm thick steel plating on the outer edge, it's going to bring it up to, well, 41mm minimum. Now the real gun is only 38 in width, so it's going to be about 3mm wider. It's going to be the thickness of one of these plates wider, which is a bit unfortunate. But I do want the gun to be fairly rigid and to feel good in weight, you know, to feel correct. I could use this thin plate and it would be less work, but you can see it flexes. It's never going to feel as rigid as the real gun would be, so I don't really like to do that. The ideal metal, as I've mentioned before, would have been 2mm steel plate, and now that would have been an ideal choice, but unfortunately I couldn't find any. So I don't really want to be waiting around or ordering pieces of steel plate over the you know, over the internet and getting it posted to me. It costs too much in postage. I've been looking at the metal here on the top, and I'm thinking it's probably about time I could start welding the two sides together, certainly in one point, up here at the top area, in the top area. Now how am I going to do this? Well, as looking around in the garage, and I found this piece of scrap lying on my floor. I tend to keep pieces like this because they're handy. It's about 6mm thick black mild steel, and what I've done is I've drawn a line down the centre, 35mm, and at one end I've marked it off to be a point. Now that's 15mm in on each side and then to the centre, and that is to do this piece here, like so. So if I cut that out, that will be the width 35mm between the two top plates, well, the two side plates I should say, not top plates. Yeah, the plan is to, I'm using the wrong plate here. The plan is to sit that sort of in that position there, then weld and fill in the corner between the two areas. Then once I've welded those up, then file or grind and file them back onto about a 45-degree angle, so they'll look something like this point here. So we'll see how it works out. See, on this side you've got the hole where the cartridges would eject. So here I've got to file the metal in a little bit. As you can see there, it moves in a few millimeters. So we'll see how we go. Now this area here, now that's presumably a form of rail on the top. Let's have a little look. I could be wrong. I'm not sure what the function is of that, to be honest with you. But that's easy sorted out. I can basically put another piece of steel up on the top of it with a few holes in it and weld that down onto the other plate, which I'm going to fix across. Now this plate, which is going to be 35mm wide, is not quite long enough to go from here to there, but that's alright. I've got plenty of more scrap here which I'll cut off and I'll fill that in behind it, and that will get me up to about that point there. Then I'll probably do another similar thing from here back to there where it starts to curve. Now this curved part I'm going to have to work out slightly well later on. What I might be able to do is find some tubing which I can cut down and put a bit of a bend in it, and then weld that in on the back and grind it down to make it look right. Okay, once I've sawn that down and got it into shape, what I've done then is, you'll notice there's this bend in the top area, this profile that you've got to try and get into it. Now basically what I've then done is I've cut two slots. I've not done it particularly precisely actually, look at the state of that one, but I've cut slots in the metal underneath with the angle grinder, and then I've bent the shape into it. Hopefully once I weld it all in there and do a bit of filing on it, it'll look reasonably presentable. So basically that'll sit in approximately that sort of position, and then I'll weld in the corner. Yes, so the idea is try and weld in the corner there, and then grind it and file it and see how it works out. It could be that I might have to do some welding on the inner side as well, along in the corner, which should be manageable. Before I put any other sides on it, I reckon I should be able to get the welding torch in and run a bead of weld down the two sides on the inner edge. That will enable me to get a more replicated angle on this metal here, because I might have to take a lot of metal down. It might almost, the weld may almost disappear here. see how it goes, what I can get away with, how I can make it look. What I'll use to hold the pieces together is these right angle magnets. Basically stick them on there, and quite tough. Now, because I've got this fold here, I can't get the magnet in straight, which is a bit upsetting, but yeah, still, with the use of 2 magnets you can do it. Lift that up. See? Quite handy, those magnets. Okay, so you get the idea. I've just welded this in 2 positions at the moment, and yeah, it is welded up at a right angle. You can see there, so that's not too bad. What I'll probably do now is I'll try and weld the other side at a couple of points so that it's held together, and see where I go from there. This side is a little bit harder to set up. Basically what I've done is I've put a mark on the metal here where it should touch the back end of this piece here. I've marked that by lying this part down at the bottom to give me a point where that matches up. Then what I'm doing is I'm using my engineer's square to project the top plate down to the bottom plate and moving it round on all the corners to make sure it looks like it's in the right position. I've put the 2 magnets inside here in a different sort of arrangement, and I've packed them with a shim of wood to try and get the right distance between the 2 plates. So now I've just got to start checking to see that I've got 35mm, and it's not at that point there, so I've still got to do a little bit of playing around with this. It's probably the magnets are pushing the metal up in a few points. So I'll play around with this for a while, get it set up, and then I'll weld that point up there. But I would think after I welded it I'll still be able to flex this a little bit about, particularly if I only put 2 tack welds on. I'll be able to flex it quite well until I get it in exactly how I want it in terms of the space between the plates. Once I've got that right, then I can start filling in the other plates along the top, and then eventually I'll add one on the front which will have the barrel fixed to it. Right, that then gives me that. I've welded the corner of the hole up a little bit there as well, so that can be filed back into shape. Probably may need a little bit more in the corner. So it needs grinding down and filing. I've also welded the other side, all the finishing bits in on that side. Once it's ground and filed back, it might look quite good. So it's starting to get there. If I compare it with the real BAR out here, it's you know, starting to get there. The shape's taking place. Just needs me to carry on working on it. This part down at the bottom, I'm going to have to close those in and change the bend on them, but that's an easy thing to do. Even once it's this far in to the job, I'll still be able to do that. I've not welded a seam down on the inside there. I have a feeling that I won't really need it,